Welcome everyone to Nerd of the Rings. We have a trio of very special guests with us. You'll recognize all of them have been on the channel before, and I'm very pleased to welcome them back. We have Sir Richard Taylor, Jed Brophy, and Gino Acevedo. You guys have a great panel coming up later today here at Comic-Con. What can you guys tell us about the panel? Can you give us kind of a sneak peek?
Yeah, it's a celebration of 20 years since the Return of the King, but it's also a celebration of the whole process of creating those trilogy of films, from what it meant to us, our experiences, and what it meant to the filmmaking community, and what it meant for our country at large.
Very cool. Now, do you guys? It's been a bit since you guys have been to Comic-Con. Well, Jed, you were here last year. Yeah. But for you,
3 years
Gino,
for me.
3 years, yeah.
I was here in 1999.
Oh wow! So
it's been a while.
So Gino, what's it like? You know, all these years later, coming back. Is it kind of the same, just much later?
It's the same, but more. Yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, walking through all the aisles and just see just the vast rooms, and it just seems like there's a lot more people and a lot more booze and a lot more stuff to look at.
Very cool. Now you guys had a rehearsal last night for your panel. How did that go? I look at Jed. Jed always has this mischievous look on his face, so I'm assuming that there was shenanigans and they were probably caused by Jed.
Well, I'll just say, Jed, we wanted to make sure we try and tell people something different that they haven't heard before. After 20 plus years, the behind the scenes, all the interviews we've done, all the articles, of course, it's very hard to think about what else different we can tell. So that's what we were discussing. But the thing that we can do differently is every time we're together, there's a chemistry of friendship and collaboration and an ability to reminisce about beautiful memories and times. And of course, the different combination of people that will be on stage gives us that opportunity. Of course, we're having Lawrence Mohore on stage with us too. So we were talking about very funny moments between Jed and Lawrence, and Gino and Lawrence, and all of us and Lawrence. So,
Yeah, it's I mean, that's the thing. It's a long friendship formed on a set of films that created lifelong friendships, and it's kind of changed. It changed us as people, and so that's the thing we hope comes through.
It's really just changed our lives. I mean, literally for me, you know, being born out here in the United States and moving to this place called New Zealand, which is now Middle Earth, and making a new life out there. You know, it's just really incredible.
Yeah. Now, Gino, are you worried that people will ask you fewer questions because they just want to hear these guys' Kiwi accents?
Probably.
I've heard so many people say, oh, I just want to go to the, I want to go to the panel in part because I just want to hear Kiwi accents for an hour, and I'm like, oh, poor Gino.
we should speak in British accents. You speak
like yes, we should. Yes. I think you'll find the thing that we need to do is we just don't want to exclude you.
Now, you mentioned, the wonderful friendships and, this family that's been built through Middle Earth. And family was what I heard a lot last night of people talking about the atmosphere around all of you guys, the Wētā folks, the guys involved with the films at the One Ring party, and just how basically wonderful you guys all are. I heard so many comments at the party last night. So what was it like for you, when you guys come to stuff like this to be with fans and who appreciate your work so much?
Well, they're the reason why we're here, why the films are still going. In fact, even last night, I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's on TV here. So we were watching Return of the King last night. And it's just amazing to think that it's been, over 20 years now, and it's still going, and it still looks great.
It's such a easy thing to say that, if it wasn't for the fans, we wouldn't have our career. And you hear it a lot, I say it a lot, but it's fundamentally the truth. Like, we're equally fans of these films, of Peter Jackson's work, but likewise, having been practitioners on the show, on the films, the fact that people have kept it alive through these fan groups, specifically the one we went to last night, of course, is is just testament not only to how lovely the films are, but how strong and tight the community is, how beautiful the community is around these films. And I love being a participant in them. Obviously I was a guest last night, but you don't feel like that. I just casually went and sat with a group of friends and chatted and whiled away the evening. And then the cosplay competition, you know, you don't feel like a guest judge. You just feel like one of the team, one of the members of the group, and you get to hang out with these amazing people like the man behind the camera here and look at their incredible work. So I actually, it's almost odd to comment on it as being super special, because it's almost just super normal now. You know, you turn up at Comic-Con and you hang out with your friends. What else are you going to do? So it's good.
Yeah, and it's there's a lot of other Kiwis who say this is our way to see the world. You know, we've been invited to so many countries to share our experiences of the behind the scenes and what it was like filming, and people thanking us for what it's actually done for them. And I talked to a young man last night who said he was so shy, he didn't really have a community, but he has a community of people that he feels like he's a part of now, and that was an amazing. I hear that all the time, and if that's the one thing that we do for people, that we help them have a feeling like they belong to a community and a group of people that are like-minded and have a commonality, then that's the best reason for doing anything.
I just mention when I very first came to this convention, a young woman came up to me, a young girl, was brought to say hi by her mum, and she was a very shy person, and she was struggling a little bit, I would say, with how to fit in. Same situation that Jed comments on it, and how she finds her clique, her community. But she clicked into this specific community who have, nurtured her and let her grow and become the extraordinary person she is. And this weekend she told me that she's bought a house, and, you know, it's one of the biggest decisions person will make in their lives, and the fact that she has grown through these years to have the skills, ability, confidence, flair, creativity to win work that then affords her the opportunity to buy a house. That's like fantastic, isn't it? That's exactly what you hope for.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of work, you guys have, we're going on 10-ish years since the last Hobbit film, but you guys have still been playing in Middle Earth through some amazing collectibles, and you guys revealed just a jaw-dropping one yesterday. We posted the video on the channel here, so if you haven't seen that, go check it out.
We have actually. We watched it.
Oh, you guys did.
In our rehearsal.
Well, I was talking to them, but yeah, that's great that you checked it out.
All I could do, I was sitting there going, oh, I pity people listening to this voice and this accent bellowing out across the crowd.
No, it was great.
But that was lovely of you. Thank you. We're incredibly proud of this beautiful sculpture that Gary Hunt has done, and Jules has art directed, and a team of people have put together. And it's, that's kept us attached to the tail end of these films, because we have this license for Middle Earth. And every time, it's 21 or 2 years since we made our first collectible, and every time we make another one, it feels like we're somehow anchored, hanging on into this beautiful community and the people that collect our sculptures. As most people listening to this know, I'm a significant collector of garage kits, pre-paints, polystone, of course, and my office is imploding with them now. Ree shares my office, my assistant Ree shares my office with me, and there's 250 collectibles around us in a very small office, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So the fact that I meet other people that are as passionate about the collectibles business and love buying these beautiful sculptures, they ultimately are affordable fine art. If you can't collect bronzes or marbles, then collect these beautiful pieces of work. And very proud of the piece that we showed yesterday.
Yeah, I imagine that Gary probably still sees feathers in his sleep. You said every single individual feather he did.
Yeah, he did. You could use a stamp, digital stamping process to replicate them, and arguably he possibly tried that a little bit. But if you think about an eagle landing or about to alight on a rock just above a roiling heat of lava, there's no single feather's not going to be ruffled in a certain way. So he what was supposed to be a few months of work ended up being well over a year of sculpting, and 2 years in development, a year of sculpting. So it's pretty crazy. But good on him. That's absolutely Gary to a T. Everything to perfection, everything to the greatest degree he can put into his art. So we celebrate Gary and everyone like him. So.
One of the things I just remembered is back in the day when we were first starting to do the collectibles, was amazing to see the artists who were sculpting the pieces. But the huge benefit that we had is that we could actually have the actual props, the costumes and everything like that, so they had that as reference. And that's why why the pieces are so successful and so accurate, because they had the actual pieces there, as opposed to a lot of other licensees who would maybe doing something, they have to work off photographs, which are usually not very well. But in this case, we had the real deal.
We measure them exactly.
Yeah.
And the lovely thing too, when we did the very first collectibles, Saruman incanting the Palantir was the very first collectible that we sculpted. That was a wonderful thing because all the actors were still together on set, and they all kindly signed a letter to New Line trying to press New Line into allowing us to have the license. And we sculpted this beautiful sculpture. Mike Asquith sculpted it. David Tremont made it. And we took that with us to New York, and Christopher Lee very kindly signed the Blimp, and we put that in front of the licensor holders, in front of John Mayo, the most incredible man who facilitated all the international licenses for New Line. And we became very close friends with John Mayo. In fact, we were just reminiscing about him and his wife and family just the other day. And it doesn't get better than that to have this sort of winning card than having a sculpture of Saruman with Christopher Lee's signature across it and a letter from the actor. So we are very, very thankful to those actors, because having the opportunity to make these collectibles over the last 20 plus years has just been exceptional.
I have to say, as an actor, there is nothing better than having your own action figure. It doesn't. If you have nieces and nephews or family members, you've got a great gift to be able to give them. But it's just, you don't ever expect it. It's not something that you go into the industry ever thinking that will happen, that you'll have people go, can you sign the likeness of you from the film, the character that you played for me? And I go to conventions all over the world, and people come up to me and say, can you sign this, this bust or this sword or this knife or this collectible from your character? And it's a real buzz, because it's not something you ever think is going to happen.
Well, and you've got a few probably,
yeah.
Orc, Nazgul, Nori,
Yeah.
But the unseen thing for me from it, obviously, as I mentioned, I'm a massive fan of this art form anyway, and I've been collecting since I was a teenager. But the greatest opportunity for me, I say the thing I love to make today is other makers. And my personal passion is sculpting. I'm not particularly great at it myself as much as I try, but I love reading about sculpture, going and visiting art galleries of sculpture, photographing it in the streets. I travel to different cities and specifically seek out famous sculpture that might have been done over the centuries. So the desire to have as many sculptors within our company as possible, the highest percentage of our crew being sculptors, is really important to me. And we utilize sculpting, of course, for the film work and the location-based experience work we do. But the problem with this work is it fluctuates, and you want to give consistent work confidently to your team. Specifically, I want to think that we can keep our sculpting team together. So this opportunity to make collectibles and the opportunity that is given back by people that collect our collectibles means that probably one of the largest communities of sculptors in the creative industries in the world now stay together within our workshop, doing the film work, doing the location-based experience work, and then jumping onto collectibles. And some of our sculptors have now become permanent sculptors only of collectibles. Look at Jorgelina and Mauro doing the mini epics.
Yeah,
that's.
I was gonna bring up the mini epics. So there's a new one that is here at Comic-Con, and I know they have it at the One Ring booth. It's the Frodo and Shelob's lair, and you get to put the spider webbing over him. And I think I also saw you guys are coming out with a cave troll and a King Aragorn. And the people watching will, because I beat this drum all the time, I adore the mini epics, and I really want to see an animated film or series in that style, because it'd be wonderful.
We'd love to even build a location-based experience.
Oh my gosh!
Imagine that, going and visiting Middle Earth at mini epic scale.
I would love that.
The cave troll is kind of it's just the most cutest thing. I've told Mauro it's my favourite. It's so lovely.
I do think though there needs to be a Grishnak and Schnager trying to eat Merry and Pippin and Fanghorn Forest.
You go twist those guys' arms. Absolutely.
Because the fans have asked many times, like the many fans.
Yeah.
Well, they have.
And maybe some Corsair pirates?
Yeah, some Corsair pirates, yeah.
Yeah, specifically that one that just
He's kind of like quite crazy, isn't he? It's just like he's really
That was
into
a
it.
blast, yeah.
Yeah, that's, oh my gosh, it's a fantastic line of figures. I absolutely love them. My son got you and Daniel were at the booth the other day, so my son got his Frodo with you guys' signatures on it. He's all pumped about that. I see Jed is, he's lobbying for another. It's been a while since he's had a figure come out, so he's thinking it's about time for him again. I think.
Okay, well, let's talk about that,
Yeah.
Jed. We. It's probably a well-known story now, but Jorgelina and Mauro, husband and wife, just popped in to see us one day, I think 12, 14 years ago now, travelling down the country to see New Zealand, and they showed us their portfolio to us, and it was so incredible, so beautiful, and we were flat out. It's such a thing of luck, whether we're busy or not, when people pop in. Some people try and get work with us for quite a while, and we just don't have a position. We can't make work, so it's all dependent on whether we've got work. But we were frantic at the time, so we asked them if they would stay. Yeah. And they worked in our model making department for a huge number of years until we'd always wanted to do small vinyl characters. I went to Kid Robot when I was actually in New York pitching the Collectibles, I think was the trip, and I went to Kid Robot in downtown New York and saw the first vinyl toys. I got a Gary Baseman Dunny, an 8-inch Gary Baseman, and I got the Smoking Wabbits that some people may remember. And I came home and I was like, everyone, we've got to get into this. This is amazing. Imagine Middle Earth at this little scale. And Daniel would do these sketches, but it never quite happened. So I used to say this to our team, our sculptors, and Mauro went, and just quietly went away and started developing his own style, which became the mini epics. And then Jorgelina said, I can get involved in this too. And Jorgelina was doing model making, and sure enough, she's now become the most extraordinary sculptor of mini epic likenesses and the whole figures. But the two of them are a formidable pair, and we're very, very lucky to have them. And their work speaks for itself.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah, they're wonderful. So if you guys are at Comic-Con, definitely make sure you go by the One Ring booth, pick up your Frodo. So last question, guys, and this is probably one you couldn't answer. Well, I guess you can answer vaguely and stuff, but I think a lot of fans, we heard that Warner Brothers is going to be making more Lord of the Rings films, and the first thought that pops into everybody's mind, I think, is, we should get the band back together. I know, you know, have a reasonable suspicion that you guys would probably be up for a reunion tour in Middle Earth, and you know, going back. I mean, you've never left, obviously. You guys live in Middle Earth after all, so I feel pretty safe in that assumption. But yeah, what do you guys think? More Middle Earth?
Yeah, I think the Ori Dori Nori story has to be told. I think the what happens to the dwarves after Erebor and where they go, and the opening up of Moria. I think I love that story. I think that one is an easy do. You know, we want to know about unearthing the Balrog and, you know, what happened there in Moria before, you know, in between Erebor and when we see Lord of the Rings in that period, or the young Aragorn story.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of worth there, and I would be, and I'd do another 20 years in Middle Earth.
Well, and I think you've got a few slots in your Middle Earth bingo sheet yet to fill up of different, you know, races to play. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I'd go back to Middle Earth again in a heartbeat. Yeah, I miss it.
Yeah. Well, guys. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
the happiest times.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks to Peter and Fran and the opportunity to do those films, the happiest times.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure, like myself, many fans will be crossing their fingers for that. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your Comic-Con schedule to hop on an interview here. Ladies and gentlemen, Gino Acevedo, Jed Brophy, Sir Richard Taylor. That's it for this interview here from Comic-Con. We'll have more for you. We'll see you next time on Nerd of the Rings.